Everyone just wants to live, laugh, love. But in this disappointing world, there are many who are faced with lies.
Where are the Tinder Swindled ladies now? How did you hand money to a billionaire? Like, that is so stupid. Before it happened to me, I never thought that I would be a victim of this. The person that you loved, that was never real. He is claiming that all of this is fake, and that is why he's scary.
This is Live, Laugh, Lies.
Cecilia, welcome to Live, Laugh, Lies.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited. I'm in your hometown,
Yes.
home city, London. So excited to be here. It's so beautiful. Your story has captivated like millions of people. The Netflix documentary that came out, it was called The Tinder Swindler, right?
Yes.
It was like millions of views within the first month, right?
It's the most watched documentary of all time.
The most
Yeah,
watched documentary.
On Netflix.
Insane.
It became a phenomenon, you know.
Yeah.
Now people are saying I almost got Tinder swindled and those type of things.
Oh, I use that all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've like literally been, even though when I say it, I'm like being dramatic and I'm like, oh, I got Tinder swindled. But like, but like you actually did.
I got.
You really
proper,
got it.
The
Yeah.
original.
The
Tinder
original.
swindled.
You like set the record on that.
Yeah,
That is
true.
like so wild.
If you haven't heard of the Tinder Swindler, he's the con artist who posed as a wealthy jet setter to scam women like Cecilie Fjellhøy out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Tinder Swindler premiered on Netflix in February 2022, became a global hit, and sparked worldwide conversations about online dating scams and digital deception. Today, Susie is in London sitting down with Cecilia to learn more about her story and go beyond the Netflix edit.
How did it feel kind of becoming like an overnight sensation and people like knowing your name?
I think like we all love true crime. And
Yeah.
I think that when I decided to go public, I did not expect that. You know, you think more is all about the story, and then suddenly everyone has an opinion of you, which I
Yeah.
bet you know too,
Right.
how that is. And it was just so weird Googling you, like, where are the Tinder Swindled ladies now? And they Googled
Yeah.
everything about me. It's this very strange thing to be thrown into
Yeah.
because that is not what you expected out of that experience.
Right.
But it's so great to see the amount of people coming up to you to thank you. Like, thanks to you, I saw the relationship I was in. It doesn't even have to be fraud,
Yeah.
but just like that, how
Manipulation.
yes, the behavior, you know, the gaslighting, you know, the threats, like all of that. Like, I felt that it was even a woman who took me out for lunch when I visited her hometown to thank me that she got out of a bad relationship.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it says a lot of.
It does say a
Yeah.
lot. Were you apprehensive to go public about your experience? Or was it like empowering?
It was desperation.
Desperation.
Back, it was 2018, so it's 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I just felt like the police didn't take me seriously. The banks that I had loans with were just the boyfriend who did that. And I was like, what happened to me was insane. That was
Yeah.
not my boyfriend. So when I went public, I didn't think that I had a choice because I was like, the police weren't going to do anything. He was going to continue to defraud people
Right.
for how many years? They will never stop. So I did it to get his face out. And that was my first thing.
Yeah.
But after that, it became empowering to see the amount of people who think that you're brave. Of course, there are negative comments too, as when you go public with a story like that.
Yeah.
But I try to focus on the people that you've helped.
Absolutely.
And having him angry at you too really helps, even though he's not in prison, you know.
Right, which is actually insane that he's not in prison. We're going to get into that as
Yeah.
well. I wanted to ask you, so before you were in this relationship, what was your dating life like prior to this?
I've had several long-term relationships, actually. I had my first boyfriend since I'm from 18 till 24. So it
Okay.
was like a 6-year long relationship. Always treated me so nice. Like, all
Yeah.
my exes are the best guys. So I wasn't part of that, you know, like that you have been in an abusive relationship, so you
Yeah.
continue to pick the bad men. I think because I just met great guys,
Yeah.
that I was like, oh, I know how to pick them. So I was an easier target because, you know, I was like, no, but I know people.
Yeah.
And love dating. If
Yeah.
you've seen the Tinder Swindler, it's like I love. I always love dating.
Yeah.
So when I moved to London, I just was on the apps, as a lot of people are, and just went on dates and, you know, was hoping to find, I was 29 at the time, so I wanted to find someone, and he just came in at the best wrong time.
Yeah, the worst best time of all. Yeah.
But I've always been very I wanted a nice guy.
Yeah.
You know, when you meet someone for the first time and you go to their flat, and it says so much to me about how a man's flat is.
Yeah.
You know, does he know how to cook and clean and make it cozy? And all of my exes had that. I never had to be their mom.
Yes.
Because I feel like sometimes you fall into that.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Even with just like emotional stuff. I feel like sometimes it's like, okay, we're back to teaching someone how to process emotions, you know?
Yeah, we need to talk.
Yeah.
You know?
There's something called communication.
Yeah. Vulnerability.
Yeah.
You can if you want to. Speak to me. Yeah, so I live with, like, my first boyfriend. We bought a house together.
Oh,
like, we
wow.
lived together. So, like, I thought that was it.
Yeah.
But then I was 24 and I thought there has to be more to life. So then I decided to end that relationship. So most of the times I'm the one who's ended them.
Yeah.
Because I just felt that, you know, there's more.
Yeah.
If, you know, like, I just felt too young.
You were young. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt too young. I know
too.
that is very different for a lot of people, but I felt just too young at 24 to just settle down and spend all my money on refurbishing a house. I was just sitting there, just like, I was just finishing my studies, and I was like,
Is this what I'm doing?
am I going to use all my money now to that? Like, I was just, no, I want to travel.
Yeah.
So we were just at very different life stages.
Yeah.
But I was very open, like, when I moved to London, that I was like, maybe I'll stay here forever, you know? I never know.
Where are you from originally?
Norway.
Norway. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But I call this my hometown now. It's because
Yeah.
this is when I travel around. This is home.
Yeah.
This is what I miss.
This is where you come back to.
Yeah, it is. But it's nice to have two homes, though.
Yeah. So is your family back in Norway?
Yeah, everyone is
Oh,
there.
okay. Gotcha.
So I'm
So
the
you
only-
moved here as an adult?
Yeah.
Oh,
moved here.
wow.
I went over here to do my master's.
Okay.
In digital experience design. So my background is in IT.
Oh, wow.
So I do have that. And I
Amazing.
think I just lived here for half a year before I met Simon. So it was not a long time.
Those of you that follow me on social media or listen from time to time here, I have talked about my personal struggles with my skin, which for me, being a very freckly person, it's dark spots, it's sunspots, it's aging. I'm trying to do everything I can to preserve the quality of my skin. And I occasionally will go in and do like a facial or a laser here and there. But for the most part, I really lean on my day-to-day care, which is why I want to talk to you guys today about Apostrophe, who is one of our sponsors on the podcast. And Apostrophe is a really cool platform where you actually will get connected with a dermatology team, and you're going to go through all of your skin concerns, whether it's acne or aging or anything along those lines. And you will actually get a curated treatment based on what it is that you're looking for, which I feel like is so important. It's really like the day-to-day treatment and the upkeep that keeps your skin looking young and youthful. So to get started, you'll complete a virtual derm visit and consultation through Apostrophe, and then they can provide you access to prescription treatments as needed. We have a special deal for our audience, so get your first visit for only $5 at apostrophe.com/livelaughlies. That's a savings of $15. This code is only available to our listeners. To get started, go to apostrophe.com/livelaughlies and then use our code livelaughlies at sign up, and you'll get your first visit for only $5. Thank you to Apostrophe for sponsoring today's episode. Prior to dating Simon, were there similarities between him and your other exes? I know you said that like you didn't feel like you had to be like their mom, and they kind of like had their life together. What was the difference when you met him versus past people? Or was it similar?
Him as a person,
Yeah.
like the one outside, you know, when things came out and you saw these videos of him in these cars, and he just looked so, you know, I was like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
Because he never sent me those videos, and he never had that kind of very gushy persona that I saw when it came out. I was like, oh my
Okay.
God, you know, those party videos. And I was like, oh no, I never saw that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I paid for it, but I never saw those party videos and those type of.
So he seemed more humble when...
Yeah, like with me, and that's why it was so nice to meet the other ladies in
Yeah.
Tinder Swindler, because he was a nice guy, right? Like funny, didn't take himself seriously, like super charming, of course, like when you're with him.
Yeah.
Very deep, like to ask tons of questions, so vulnerable. So, but he's very good at mirroring you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these people do. They
Wow.
ask you tons of questions, which we love.
Yeah.
And then they use that to find out, oh yeah, oh, Cecilie liked that, or she likes that in a man. I will become that.
Yeah.
And I think that is why it's sad. Like when I talk about it now, how is he different? Because that was just all an act.
Mm-hmm. So
If
you
know
never
what I
really knew
mean?
him. Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. That's why why romance fraud is so sad.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the person that you loved, yeah, it was never real. Like it was all an act.
Right.
Like immersive theater, I call it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like,
think about it.
It really is.
You go in there and everything's set up. So when I was visiting him,
Yeah.
you know, I knew then that they knew Cecilia's coming now. You're in this situation with her. We need X, Y, and Z from her. We're going to do this. And that is, for example, I met one of his friends there in Amsterdam. I knew that they were thinking, we need to introduce someone to make you trust someone even more, that he has friends, that he's friends with women, you know what I mean? Which made me trust him even more.
So the people, like the friends around him, were they all helping him with this like escapade?
Some of them were in it, some of them weren't. Like the friend I saw,
gosh.
she's a victim too in the end.
Okay.
But, you know, so they take risks kind of, because we could have talked more. But for me, when I saw her, I was like, she came to make dinner for us. I was like, that's so nice. He has proper friends here.
And what was her, like, how did she get like swindled into doing that?
It's a bit of a complicated story with her.
Okay.
Because a lot of the times, of course, it's the same with me. Maybe he needed help. I don't know for exact, but I know that she was trying. Amex that helped me was trying to reach out to her too, kind of to say that, you know, the guy that you are friends with, whatever, he's a fraudster and we have questions. So there's so many of us out there. Yeah. So like the similarities is that, he was funny, like a lot of the qualities I was looking for. But of course, that extreme lifestyle, like the traveling around, you know, it was a complete different. He didn't have a 9 to 5, you know. So of course that was very unusual for me, and I was like, of course, a bit taken aback. And of course, you're like more, oh my god, what is this? You know, what a life you have.
Right?
How is your future going to be? Like, do you want to settle down? Is this a life? You know, because the amount of travel he did, he was just maybe a week in one place, some days in another, just jetting around.
Wow.
That was the entirety when I was with him, was him just traveling around.
And you guys obviously met on Tinder.
Yeah.
And once you met in person, I'm curious, like, at what point did you realize, because he seemed maybe humble to begin with, but then he's traveling, living this kind of luxury life. He doesn't have a 9 to 5. Were you ever just like, what do you do? Like, are you just a trust fund baby? Is this like where is this coming from? Like, how did you approach that? Or were there really questions that you asked, or were you just like, wow, like what a lucky guy, like what a dream?
No, it was one of my first questions.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, he had an Instagram at the time, so he was posting pictures that he was traveling and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, like, what is your job? And that was the first date, that he said he was the CEO of this big diamond company. Right. And you know, at the top, you wine and dine. Yeah. That's just part of it. Like, he has other people who are working, but when the contract is being signed and you need to get those done, you invite them for dinners out. And you know, you might go out. Like, that is just how it is. So that's what he said that he was doing. Okay. And that his dad was the one who had owned the company, and then he gave him the opportunity to run it, and he's been very successful with it. Gosh. And he said that my dad is the king of diamonds, and then he just did like this, kind of implying that he was then the prince of diamonds. Kind of like, So when you say humble, I wouldn't say he was humble. Like, he knew very well. What I meant is that humble in the sense that he knew kind of his position and how lucky. Okay. Just to get that. That's what I meant for being humble, and just in person, you could joke with him. He wasn't a stuck-up guy. Right. That's what I meant. Makes sense. Yeah, that's what I meant. But of course not humble. He wasn't like humble, but like, He lived a luxury life, kind of, so not humble in that sense. Okay, you know, that makes sense. I knew that he knew how to spend money, because he spent all my money. Yeah, I know. I know. Did he spend money on you before he initially asked for financial help? Did he spend money? Like, did he take you traveling? Did he buy you any luxury things? That's what I mean. That's what he said, and he didn't. Like, you didn't even get the perks. That's what I meant. I said, like, it would have been okay if I would be the one traveling, if I would be getting the dinners, if I would be... No, like, before all of that, the request for help came. Of course, it's a help. Favor. I think I got that private jet trip. So I've always been trying to... humorous. Was that worth $250,000.
Probably
that private jet
not.
trip.
Yeah. You're like, that one time he took me with him?
Yeah.
No.
And then we stayed together kind of in some hotels, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like, but when I saw him all other times was in his hideaway apartment in Amsterdam. And as I said, one of his friends came to make dinner for us. And no, like I didn't. Like he gave me his old iPhone because he got a new one, and because my screen was cracked.
My God.
Was one of those people who walked around, and then he gave me his old one because he's gotten a new one. You know, those gold ones where you can get your engraved.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
Where did he get? Like still to this day. Like anyway, like it's in he
So when he first asked you for financial help, what went through your mind?
The thing is that what was so clever about him wasn't financial help. It didn't seem like financial. Everyone's asked me, how did you hand money to a billionaire? Like, that is so stupid.
No,
but the
it's
issue,
not stupid.
Well,
it's not. Like,
but if what I meant is that this scheme and conspiracy, as I will call it, was so well made because, of course, he had the bodyguard, Peter. I asked about, why do you have a bodyguard? Like, it's really... And he said, well, he's been doing very well in the diamond business, and he had some competitors that wanted to stop him, you know, from being able to travel around, wine and dine people. And I was like, okay, wow, like, scary, you know, are you okay?
Yeah.
And he came with some small drips now and then, like some messages, like, talking about someone had called their hotel in Stockholm asking for Simon, and he hadn't used his real name, you know, for security reasons. He was scared, talked about break-in CCTV, bullets in the mail, like to get him. And I was like, okay. But he said to me, like, don't you worry. He has a security team and everything's going to be fine. Of course, it's not going to be fine. Celebrate Valentine. And I gave him such a nice present. I gave him like...
What'd you get him?
Yeah, like it was I ordered like 10 things that's wonderful about you that I made specially for him that you could read. And then I gave him a book about being in a relationship with a Norwegian. It exists like, because we can be called blah, blah, blah. And like how you can. So I gave him that. And I think after that, that's when they were like, okay, we have her. I know that because a couple days after, that's when he said, oh my God, I have so much trouble. I'm not allowed to use my cards anymore because they can see where I am by like this... my enemies. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, like, oh my, like, what? And I, as, you know, someone close to him that cares for him, I was like, is there anything I can do? You know, like, that's a normal thing.
Yeah.
Not that you think that's what's going to come, but, you know, like, or I think I said, I wish there was something I could do. You know, like, it's just so normal, you know?
Totally.
And then he said, well, like, and then it took a couple more days. And it's like, well, if you would have an Amex, like an American Express card, a credit card, so I can travel safely under the name Cecilie Fjellhøy, and no one could know where he was. Yes, I know hindsight is a gift, and I would have wished that I would not have believed that, but I did, because
of course,
when you feel it on your body, you're sitting across someone, you have everything happening around you. He was flying around the world like on private jets. Of course, I thought he was the person he said he was,
right?
And that this was happening. Who would lie about something like that? And so I felt he'd done so much for me. He had been such a rock. Like, I felt lonely in London, you know, like he was always there, like good night messages, morning messages. He given me, you know, like I just felt like you're giving me experiences and you're being there for me. And he'd been vulnerable enough. Of course, that's another thing that fraudsters do, you know, they will kind of say or be vulnerable to you. He's talked to me before how friends had, you know, abandon him and turn their backs to him and stuff. So, and then I was like, who am I then?
Can't be that person.
Who am I then? Am I going to be one of those? So I was like, yeah, it's a couple of weeks, and then we'll fix it. So I didn't even have a proper credit card. I hate that I had to meet him to understand the joy of a credit card at times, you know, the points and like.
Yeah, I bet he racked up a lot of points for you.
Yeah, he said he was gonna. I never saw any of those points. So I took up an Amex and gave that to him, and he started, you know, in 3 weeks, he had acquired $85,000 on that credit card. And that was a new credit card. So I had to call them every single day.
My gosh.
Yeah, to
extend your limit.
Yeah. And then he did something that I thoroughly regret to this day. He said that we need to get the credit up. And I was like, well, okay. Well, I can employ you in my company. Because he said that he worked for this company. He didn't. So those employment, you know, documents that I got was fake. But I sent those in to Amex. So he said, I thought he was this real CEO of this real diamond company.
Oh my God.
In front of me, he said, I want to employ Cecilia. And I was like, this is an emergency. I was like, okay, well, if the bank call, I will be in the employment registry, if you know what I mean. So I was like, okay,
I'll be fine. Yeah.
it's maybe like, no, but you're the CEO of this company. So I sent in documents that I believed was real and was fake. So that's how they were able to get there to 85K. To me, though, still, that's an insane amount. Like, they should never have given 85K to a new account in 3 weeks.
Right.
Yes. Insanity. But, so that happened. So, and then Amex called me and said, in the end, we know that you're not using your card. And I was very angry at them because we are fucking brainwashed. And then, of course, everything was going down. I don't know if you remember in the documentary, but there was an attack in Copenhagen. He created immersive theaters around me where his enemies had found him with me there. So I was in high alert. So
were you terrified in that moment, thinking like, oh my gosh, my life could be at risk?
Yeah. But think about afterwards that was never real. That was just an act. They were acting around me, that they were scared.
Oh my God.
And he was so good at playing the part with me. He was tired, like all the messages were just like, I'm so tired, I'm working so hard. And then you saw these party videos. That's what he sent to others, Because then I would have seen,
so he's out clubbing, spending your money.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
but in front of me, it's a crisis. So I then gave him my another credit card. And then I racked up a lot of high debt loans, high loans. And that's how I got into the sphere of, in the end, $250,000.
$250,000.
And 9 loans. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's I remember when I looked at, the list, when I gathered the list, I was like, how did this happen? It was like 3 loans in one day.
Yeah.
Just to get.
It is wild that there wasn't a red flag raised from the companies as far as like, because even if it was you swiping the card, the things that he's swiping the card, I'm assuming, are quite unreasonable. You know what I mean? It's not like a loan for a home where like, yeah, you can get approved for $250K to buy a house or something, but to be out never having credit and then getting a credit card and then getting approved to keep extending the limit. Meanwhile, the things that he's purchasing just don't seem to be reasonable even.
It's totally different from the spend that I normally would have.
Yeah.
So kind of, and I was taken to court by 4 banks afterwards. So I've been to trial for this because I couldn't pay the loans. And they said, well, you're responsible for this. And I was like, well, I don't know. You can point your finger at me because it's not your fault you're being defrauded. But who's like, is it my fault for being defrauded?
Right.
So it's the criminal is the one responsible for that.
So and that's the conclusion you guys came to in court as well.
Yeah, I lost both those trials.
You lost both?
Yeah, because there is. So I am responsible.
I'm sorry, I actually don't know. So are you still being held responsible for that money to this day?
Yeah. From the banks. And I just mean and so I had to file for bankruptcy here in the UK because I had to get that off. But all my loans are still in Norway and they refuse to join in on the bankruptcy. So I've still all my loans in Norway, but I'm safe here. This is my kind of safe haven where, but it's been such a shit show trying to, and what I think is the saddest, I understand that there's consequences to my actions, but there's been 0 for Simon. And I think that is what irks me, I understand that I must have maybe paid, but why is he walking a free man right now? Yeah. And that is what I'm thinking, that the banks, when you put the precedence that you take victims to court, what are you telling fraudsters? What are you telling criminals? Right. Continue with what you're doing because we're going to forget about you and we're going to go after your victims. And I think as a society in general, that is not how we should think about crimes. We should go after the perpetrators and not the victims. So that has been, I was like standing there in court. I have the picture still to this day. And it's just mind-blowing to me that I had to endure that. They Googled my entire family to find dirt on us. And they found like one newspaper article where my mom had been chatting with a guy on Facebook 10 years ago. And she wasn't defrauded, but she realized that it wasn't him. And they put that into evidence.
Like, we've all had that happen.
Yeah, but they put it into evidence to show that I should have known what fraud is or that it runs in the family. So why It's so weird that that they've Googled everyone in my family to find something. Because
Crazy.
you had to Google my mom's name to find that was 10 years ago.
Also, like, that's literally so common.
What a backwards world we're living in. The fact that Cecilia is being punished to this day for Simon's crimes is mind-blowing, don't you think? Say it with me. #justice for Cecilia.
I recently got scammed. Well, not recently, but in the past few months, I got scammed by a good scammer online where I thought I was like purchasing something to do with like my house. Like I moved and I had to purchase like an insurance or something. And I gave away so much information, my credit card information. And it was so real. And it's like, you just don't think that fraud can happen to you. And then all of a sudden you're in it and it's too late.
Yeah.
But that's so messed up. Like if you haven't been scammed or at least like almost fallen for a scam, it's like, that's just so unreasonable. The fact that they would throw that into evidence. It's like everyone's been scammed.
Yeah.
Everyone's had something like that happen at some point in their life. At least now with the internet, you know?
For me, and that is what I'm trying to do now, is to make people understand that.
Yeah.
I understand sometimes we look at fraud victims and haha, you lost your money. But it's not only that, as a society, we should all care for each other. If you don't think that you would ever be a victim of fraud, think about your family, your kids, your mom and dad, they're older than us. And then I'm like, we need to be mindful that even though you say, ha, that would, think about when they're receiving those emails or where they go on the websites, it can happen to everyone. And that's how we need to look at it. Because before it happened to me, I never thought that I would be a victim of this.
Right.
I was just seeing like, that was more of these, that you just send something 10K to someone abroad. These are just lonely, vulnerable, elderly women that falls for this. And so that's why I was thinking, oh, no. I've never, ever thought that people go to these lengths to take your money.
And you met the other women that were swindled.
Yeah.
How many were there total?
There's so many.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of that is hidden.
Okay.
But I know like it must be tens of us just in Europe.
Okay.
But a lot of them are too, embarrassed, ashamed to speak up.
Yeah.
Which is normal. But there's men too. Like he was, for example, the private jet that I was on wasn't paid by of another woman. He defrauded a private jet company here in London.
Wow.
So men believed him too. Just send me an invoice and I'll pay it. And unfortunately for them, then since they didn't get the payment up front, he never paid for. So
how can he not be in prison? He went for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
For like 5 months.
He was in jail in Greece for 5 months for use of a fake passport, and then he was sent back to his home country in Israel, and then he was there for another half year, and then because he had old charges there, because he's always been a fraudster.
Okay.
So he went there for, I think he had forged a check. Then he was a babysitter and had forged a check with them. And so he was let out in May 2020. So he's been out now for 4.5 years.
Do you ever hear from him?
No, but he did send me some hate comments throughout now in 2024. I thought it was so funny from a fake account. It was from an anonymous account. And I was like, because he got a new Instagram. So suddenly I was like, oh my God, because he's blocked me. And I think that's so funny that he's blocked me, but he still checks up on me.
Of course.
And then he was just sending these most vile comments to me throughout 2024. Like I was like thinking if I was going to, I wasn't going to go to the police with it because he stopped. But he said like, you're always in the past, ex-colleagues, ex-boyfriend, get a life. I posted I had a documentary when I was 12 years old. And then he said, you wanted to be a star since a young age.
You were destined to be a star. Sorry. Sorry about it. Sorry she's iconic.
And then the last point was like, it was just a very delicate time for me. Like I had the death in my family. I just posted about that. And then he's right, seeking attention. Your time is over. Move on, bitch.
Oh my gosh.
So he's been sending some hateful stuff to me, but I haven't. I did confront him though.
Good for you.
A couple of years back. He was very angry about that. Where I got to say my piece. You
confronted him about the fraud or about...
Yeah, I asked how is it to be a fraudster? And then he's like, I'm a liar. He looked at me dead in the eyes and said, you're a liar. And I laughed in his face.
That's the weirdest thing about all this is that like to this day, he is claiming that all of this is fake. Yeah. And that's how he has been to you. Like to your face this entire time. He's never once said, I'm so sorry for what I've done to you. But
these in-person romance fraudsters, we need to be very mindful of. They're not like you and me. There's no empathy there. and he has to get something out of it than just money. You know, you were scammed, you know, by just going to a website. They got money from that.
Yeah.
If you choose to do romance fraud, an in-person one where you have an intimate relationship, you need to have something else. Power, control, sex. There's so many other things that Simon got out of that thrill, adrenaline kick, you know, of getting a hook. Like, you know, we have Cecilia. She said, yes. Oh my God, I have. Can you imagine? So it's much more than just the money for these people.
Right.
So, and he truly believes that he deserves to be rich. He truly believes this. That's why it's so easy for him to continue. It's not that he puts on a face that he knows deep down inside or feel bad.
Yeah.
No. And that is why it's scary.
Yeah,
These individuals are really scary.
Something's very wrong with him. Yeah.
There's a lot of them out there, though.
Yeah.
That's what's sad about it.
Yeah. Have you connected with other women that have experienced romance fraud before? Like, have people reached out to you since the documentary?
It was an insane amount around when the documentary came out, and people are saying, I don't know if I can live anymore.
Oh my gosh.
You know, they don't have a future given, you know, and it's all over the world. Argentina, India, Australia, the US, like everywhere.
Yeah.
Messages all the time from people who's experienced the same thing as me.
Wow.
And then thanking me or asking for help. And I think that's sad that they don't have any, they can't tell their family, they can't tell their friends, or they're too ashamed.
Yeah, there's a lot of shame involved.
So I'm happy that they at least have an outlet to send me.
And I think it's so good. I talk about it with a lot of my guests, because so many people that do come on the show have experienced serious forms of lying from somebody else. And there is weirdly this shame when it's like, we all know these instances in life, whether it's because of like fraud or relationships or whatever, where the victim feels this sense of like shame and embarrassment. And it's like, woman to woman, we can be like, don't feel shame. Like, it's not you. Like, these people are bad people. And like, anyone that can do that is unimaginably messed up in the head. But I understand the sentiment of like somebody still trying to like wrestle with that shame. And like, it breaks my heart, because I'm sure a lot of people that become victims are probably empathetic people that actually do love hard. And like, you know, for you to be able to trust somebody and be like, yeah, I can do this for you, and I believe that you're going to make this right, and I trust all that you're saying, like, it says a lot about who you are as a person and as a partner too, that you're like willing to love and provide as well when needed, you know?
Yeah, like you just came into what I'm so passionate about, that to become a victim of this crime, you have to be a good person. But when you then go public, that's being turned upside down, and you deserve what happened to you because you're a nice, loving and giving human. Like when we search for friends, for example, what do we want them to be? You know, empathy, as you said, like giving, loving, trusting. You will all of that. But it's so weird when society, when you come out, like, it's like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not a crime. If you mean that I'm naive, yeah, of course, maybe I'm a bit naive. I'm from Norway, very naive country. That is not a crime. I don't deserve what happened to me because I'm naive. What are you talking about? That is not a crime. Yeah. But it's just like, it's so interesting when it comes to fraud, how everything just turned upside down. And I was like, for example, there's been some online comments that said that he should hold a TEDx talk for men on how to treat women. Because to finesse 4 or 5 women out of their finances, take an elite level of finesse. Like, so, and kind of like people, like, I loved seeing you cry on television as the gold digger that you are. And as well, when you go public as a woman, for example, this is not a gender crime. A lot of women comes, but it's 50-50 men and women, because we're all looking for love. We're all on dating apps, and this can happen to anyone. But when you go public, being a woman, oh my God, the slut shaming I received, because I had thousands matches on Tinder and been single for 7 years. Everyone, but especially the gold digger comment, when I'm like, a gold digger, I'm sure when Simon met a lot of women, of course, I think that he met some. If you want to be a gold digger, be a fucking gold digger. You know, get that dinner, get that, you know, do that. I don't care. That is not me.
Yeah.
I gave away my money to him. He stole my money.
Right.
So how am I a gold digger? I am the worst gold digger in the world, I'm trying to say. But a man would never been called a gold digger for being a fraud victim. If you think about that. Why would you? They've taken your money. So I think that is just really upsetting when you go public with something like this. as a woman, that is what you're being met with.
That's
because
so
that
sad.
is a difference. Men don't meet the same.
And it's like that, like back in a long time. I mean, it's not that long ago, but like 20 years ago, I feel like if sexual assault victims were to come out, the first question, well, what was she wearing? It's that same vibe. And it's like, why are we not checking the perpetrator?
Yeah.
Why is it the victim's fault? Like, it doesn't matter what that person's wearing. Nobody deserves to be sexually assaulted. Doesn't matter if you were naive.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves to have $250,000 taken from them.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter. That breaks my heart because I think, you know, I've had a small taste of like the internet, you know, public perception, people having access to you. Because that's the other thing. You could have kept this private and people would never know your name. People would never know what you've been through. And you would sit in this pain by yourself and it wouldn't help people. But you've opened yourself up to, one, being vulnerable, two, helping people, and then for people to turn it around on you. Like, because I've got just a small sliver of that when people are like, oh, what do you think? You went on a reality show about dating. Like, what do you think's going to happen? You knew what you signed up for. And it's like, people are so quick to be mean, quick to be like unapologetic. Actually, I just saw something. I'm going to reference this. I just saw something on TikTok about this girl, Rachel Kirkconnell. And she just went through a breakup and somebody started out the video. I don't feel bad for this girl anymore. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, honestly, F that person. You are an unempathetic weirdo if you can sit here and say, oh, I don't feel bad for this girl anymore because the signs were all there. I'm sorry, have you not been in a relationship where somebody has hurt you? Like, it pissed me off so bad. But I'm like, when people want to like speak out on victims or people that have like been hurt in relationships, it's like, it's so judgmental and it just is like so out of touch from reality. It's like so upsetting.
But I think
I'm sorry you've been through that.
Yeah, but with Rachel, I think no matter what she would have done, it would have been wrong.
Right.
But she wouldn't have spoken up. It was like, well, we deserve. Well, you've been in a public relationship, then you need to tell us why. I feel like no matter what you do, if you had like that sliver, like a lot of people feel that they deserve to know everything then.
Right.
That's what I mean. And I think
people
that,
do. They think they deserve access to it's like now you owe them an explanation.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So when you give it to them, then they judge you for being human.
Of course.
Because that's how it is. I just, you know, I just love Bachelor Nation. So when I was knew that I was going to meet you, I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I loved you when I saw you on the
Thank you.
I don't watch the entire episodes, but on my TikTok is filled up with with I know everything was happened between Ray, and I just feel so bad about, you know, public breakups are tough, and especially with, no matter what, is maybe not exactly the same, but is vulnerability that you are putting out there,
right?
And then people then have an opinion of you, and then they don't know you, can be really debilitating because you really want to speak up, and then you're like, well, I don't have the energy anymore.
Exactly.
That is how
I learned that in my first breakup, actually, publicly, because I was dating Clayton and we broke up, and people were they took little snippets of information, which I'm sure even will happen from this interview, when people will take little clips and then post it out of context. And so many things that I said during my first breakup that were not meant to be hurtful or were not meant to be perceived a certain way got picked up by news outlets and written differently, and it became like a different narrative. And so going through my second breakup, I've tried to be very quiet about everything I've been through, because I'm like, I don't necessarily trust the public. And it's sad because I'm sure you as well feel like people that follow you and that are like loyal or message you and they're like, you know, thank you so much, like I appreciate this so much, and it means so much to be vulnerable. And a lot of times I want to show up vulnerably online because it helps people, but then people use it as ammo against you.
Yeah.
So as we all now know, Simon is walking free right now.
I went over to Israel actually past summer to testify against him in court, because the real Levi family have taken him to court for the abuse of their good name and reputation.
So his family?
No, the real family, that is not his family. You know, he pretended to be part of that family.
Interesting.
He pretended to be the son of Levi. He pretended to be the part of Levi family. So they've had a lot of issues with this. They have to change the name of their company.
Wow.
People were thinking that they were fraudsters too, that they were in on it. So they've taken him to court to show, like, you pretended to be the CEO of our company. We've had a lot of issues with that. So all the ladies from the Tinder Swindler went over there to testify against him that he did pretend. So it wasn't our fraud case. But we testified that I, was employed. So I have those documents. Of course, I saw the email signature. We had discussions. So like we were talking. His lawyer, though, was horrible. Like, he said that I've been hunting for rich men on Tinder. All I say, again, slut shaming, like a lot of the stuff that society is trying to paint a narrative that,
Also, who cares if you were?
I know.
Like, that's how I feel. I'm like, who cares? Like,
that's what I meant. Like, when you started, I was like, that has nothing to do with this trial. Like,
nothing.
The trial is if he pretended to be a CEO and this is the evidence. But of course anyways, we just had a camera crew there because we just wanted to document it for future what might come. And he saw that and is thinking that a new documentary is being made.
And he's taking it as a...
Like, we don't know, but he believes so.
Okay, and he thinks it's like this grandiose thing about himself, right? Like,
yes.
He's very proud of this.
Yes, he calls the Tinder Swindler my documentary. And is like, that is what narcissists are, the grandiose thought of themselves. And this is him to the core, that he's the most Google man on earth. So he's just been... He never kind of gives up, and I admire the hustle, but he needs to give up. Everyone laughs at him. No one gives two shits about him, and he should really just go to jail. So with this trial, we're praying that he will go to jail now, and that is kind of it. But yeah, there are stuff in the works. But there's nothing, if he truly believes that a new documentary is going to come out and that's his documentary, he can really believe something different.
Yeah.
That is...
I actually love that the narrative is turning into, like, making him a joke. Like, I know that sounds mean, but I'm also, like, he has this idea of it being, like, this big thing about himself. He's like, oh, I'm the most Googled man.
Yeah.
My documentary was a hit. People wanted to do a TED Talk, which there are some weirdos, I'm sure, that love what he's doing, but I personally love the narrative that this is actually hilarious. Like, yeah, it's like very sad and I'm like devastated for the victims, but I think like as a society we really need to just acknowledge like what a clown he is.
Yeah, like for me, he is a clown with his behavior. What he did to his victim though was abuse. Like, that's what I'm trying with romance fraud, is to say like, well, yes, he stole 250,000 from me, but what he did, to my mental health, the abuse, the threats, what he put me under, that I see now, it's just terrible. That's what I'm trying with romance fraud, to show more of that. It's more than just the money, is what they're doing to us as human beings. Like, they make us fall in love with someone and they hate us. Yeah, that is really, so that is what. But his behavior now is truly a joke, because nothing ever happens. So it's all lies. So that's what's so interesting when everything went public and journalists were like asking us, so what do you feel that is going to, he said that he was going to have a dating show too. I think kind of like The Bachelor and everything. He said everything, Broadway show, everything. And then the journalists were asking us, so what do you think about all the ventures that he's having? And we're like, you are blaming us for believing him, but now you're believing him. You're believing whatever he says.
Period. Oh, you called them out. I love that.
Yeah, because it's just...
No, literally, people are taking this narrative that you guys like, oh, how are you believing him? Meanwhile, he's online saying, oh, my documentary was a hit, and I've got another one coming. Like, he's saying all these crazy, bizarre things, and honestly, it's believable. Like, if I were to read that, I'd be like, oh, this is so weird that this has turned into like he is trying to shift this narrative, and people believe him.
Netflix will never make a documentary with Shimon Hayut. That's true.
Just hours before Susie and Cecilia sat down for this recording in London, Simon appeared on a podcast claiming that Cecilia was a liar. Sounds to me like this Delulu behavior isn't about to expire anytime soon. You know what they say? You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
And it's so funny to use his real name because he hates it.
What is it? Shimon Hayut?
Shimon Hayut. So it's not Simon, but Shimon. So Shimon Hayut.
Shimon Hayut.
He hates his real name. So the more we can use that, the better.
Yeah, that's what we should have been calling him. Shimon Hayut? Hayut.
Yeah,
okay.
Because he changed his name, He hates his real name. He hates his old life,
Oh my gosh.
So when I did confront him, I said that name, Shimon Hayut, Shimon. And then he said, Samuel Levar is my name. It's so, it's just petty.
Oh
I understand.
gosh.
But some pettiness I'm allowed to,
Oh, 1000%.
Thank you.
I just realized, have you seen Rapunzel?
Yes.
He's like the villain version of Flynn Rider. It's like if Flynn Rider really didn't have a heart. It's like he basically is that, where like the evil guy that we all thought he was gonna be, but like didn't. But Flynn Rider we love, you know?
Yeah, I know.
But he's like the evil villain version.
The evil villain of Flynn Rider, yeah.
I wanted to ask before we go, so obviously this is like very traumatic. Like I know this show, Live, Laugh, Lies, like we try to keep things somewhat light, even though we're talking about like really intense stuff. But this was very traumatic for you. Like I cannot imagine. And I wanted to ask, like, how has this affected your dating life? Have you been able to move forward? What does your life look like now? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you doing okay?
I'm
like,
okay.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
It's been a proper roller coaster, and it's everything that happened afterwards as well.
Yeah.
That kind of going to trials, having to file for bankruptcy. I was a suspect with the UK police. It's been a lot afterwards, and with the fraud too. Of course, therapy has been a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, I was in acute psychiatric ward and had to get
gosh.
out of that. So it's been rough, but I've been so blessed with the family and friends that I have now. They've been my backbone. Like I know they are my ride and dies now.
Yeah.
Lost some along the way, but so now
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just, you just have people that instead of asking how are you, are just saying you need to pay your loans back and poor banks. And then that is when I feel like you never really knew me.
Yeah.
My first boyfriend, as I talked to you about, he even sent me a message to say that I know your heart, like I just wanted to give you a hug, and that meant so much to me.
I was actually gonna ask, like, have your past relationships reached out? Like, it sounds like the first guy you dated was a really good human. That's really nice to hear.
I just needed that because I felt horrible and I blamed myself, and it's just knowing that he knew my heart and knew that I would never ever have done something like this with an intention, knowing I was being defrauded or being cunning or sinister. Like I did it because I thought I was helping someone.
Yeah.
Of course. But now I'm like, I started my nonprofit because I wanted to help others. I co-founded Love Said, that's a support center for romance fraud victims.
Oh my gosh.
And a think tank. So I've been speaking in front of Parliament. I have a small partnership with MasterCard. So like I'm doing I quit my day job and went fully into public speaking. So I'm traveling around the world doing that. I have a very big, exciting project coming out in 2025.
Yay.
Can't say anything about it, but you know, stay tuned. So
exciting.
So a bit of TV. I did dating here on TV in the UK.
Oh, how was
back
that?
in 2022. Super fun.
Oh,
I love
cool.
dating, so for me that was like perfect.
I love
So I was
that.
being set up with men by some experts. So I went on dates on TV. Like I did, they did the same
it's
as
like
you.
The Bachelor.
Yeah, like so it was like 3 cameras, super. But I think that as long as you just enjoy and try to forget about them, and you like the person, you did forget it. Like I was like, it's fine. Or only I was having a bit pressure that we needed to kiss in the end, you know. So I was like, damn it though. Like
I hate that part.
oh, I was like, because hours were much more condensed and everything. So I was a bit more like, they needed it for the show. I understood, but yeah. So right now my life is so much better, but of course there's still kind of, it's my thoughts that when you are in the public eye, and I have some projects that's coming out, I know again, like, you know, you need to put on an armor when you've decided to do this. And sometimes I've been thinking, oh, what if I just had my 9 to 5 again, just walk to the office and stuff. But I have a bigger calling, I feel, in life, and that's what I'm grateful for. If I'm going to be grateful for anything that happened to me, I felt there was a reason why it happened to me, and this is what I'm supposed to do.
Wow. I love that. That makes me really happy. And where can people find you in your nonprofit? Like, what are your handles? And
yeah, it's Cecilia _ on Instagram, and Love Said is lovesaid.org, but it's Love Said, but maybe you can write it because a lot of people don't know how it's written. But
we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, so there people can come and get support, and there's resources, and
Amazing.
Really...
Okay, before we go, we have a little segment called Live, Laugh, Lie.
Okay.
If you could live this part of your life over again, what would you do different? I know that's a heavy one. That's a big one, but we ask everybody the same question.
If I would do anything different?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know that's hard because you found your calling. But...
I don't want to I would rather regret something I did than didn't do. That's my motto in life. So
love.
I think I has to be to live this life, even though that was that is bad though.
Yeah, I feel you. There's things I wish I could change.
I'm not
but-
so sure. No, but I have to, because you can't regret your life. This
Yeah.
is my life. I can't do that. So.
And you found truly like your calling, and your life is so beautiful because of it. So, okay, when you look back at this part of your life, what do you look back at and laugh at?
Oh my God, I
Shimon.
love it. Shimon. Yeah, that is actually very fucking true. yeah. Let's say Shimon.
Okay.
I have to laugh about that now. You have to have a bit of smile on your face too. Like that is, what was that?
Truly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what is the worst or best lie you've ever told?
Oh my God. No, I can't. No, I can't. No, I don't know.
She's like, I don't know if I can
No,
share it.
like
You don't have to. You don't have to.
No, you do.
No, I'm
Nervous as you do.
slut shamed enough, so I'm like, but I was just like thinking it's fun if ever someone was asking about your body count, you know, and all women are saying like you take down the
2
amount
or
of
3?
so because there's no point with men, or the men who's asked that, so maybe that's the best lie I've ever told, kind of, if someone asks me, because I think it's a fucking stupid question.
Literally.
It has no bearing.
No bearing, none of your business.
I know, that's what I meant. So it's like, could be a virgin for all I care. No,
Yeah.
you're the first one.
Yeah.
You're the only one.
Always.
Forever.
That's always my answer.
Yes, I can say that.
That's
But-
funny. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on Live, Laugh, Lies. You've been so interesting, and I'm so proud of who you are. Like, you are amazing. You're doing amazing work, and really glad that you're sharing this with the world. I think it's really important. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Susie. Thank
Yay.
you.
This podcast has been brought to you by Podcast Nation.